recording to the cloud. We
What's
live,
up?
bro.
What's up, dude?
What up?
Nothing.
Oh, man. Yeah,
I think we
dude.
discussed all the bullshit we're not going to put on the fucking episode.
Yeah, dude. I'm
Prior
glad we got it. Yeah, I'm glad we got it out of the way, because that would have been like the third episode in a row, just us bitching from the get-go.
Yeah.
From jump.
So,
well, you just sit around today and kick it, or were you working today?
oh, dude, I've been working my dick off. Dude,
Really? You have been working a lot? Okay.
yeah, man. Like, dude, I got like new shit coming in, like things like every day. It's like more and more shit going on. Like everybody's talking to me about like and I'm thankful that I have a job. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful that I have a job, but it's very very fucking stressful right now. Like, because both my wife and I both can work from home.
Yeah.
We have a almost 20-month-old son running around the house that we gotta also be parenting on top of trying to maintain keeping a job. And dude, it's
yeah, man. Like, as soon as my wife gets home, like at 4:00, I'm like, hey, I hate to do this, but I'm like literally dumping the kid on you, because now I got to respond to all these emails that could in theory possibly make me some money. So then from like 4:30 to whatever, I'm like hitting people back and trying to make some money and scrounging and do whatever. But dude, I tell you, I'm gonna stay positive, and I love the time that I'm getting to spend with this kid, man. Like, I take his slide, that this is one of them rubber fucking slides, and I bring it into the living room, because I'm like, dude, I don't want to go outside, like it's hot or it's cold. Either way, we're getting dirty. So I'm just gonna bring that shit inside. Well, now the kid's new thing is that fuck diapers. Like, no clothes, like he doesn't want to wear that shit, and he knows how to take a diaper off. So that's a game that I sit there and fucking play all day. But it's the funniest shit in the world, because I'm like, all right, motherfucker, I'm gonna teach you a little lesson here. Yeah, go ahead, go down that slide with no diaper on. And then you just hear like, ass cheeks like just burning, and he starts crying. I'm like, dude, live and learn, homie. So that's how I enjoy my day, torturing my kid.
Yeah. So his first lesson in physics is friction.
Friction. That's right. Well, shit, dude. But it's fun. So I enjoy spending the time. But I tell you, it wears me out, man. They got a lot of energy, as you know.
Oh yeah.
It's stop, dude.
I mean, that's one thing I was gonna say, man. Like like I said, I'm blessed to still have a job.
Yeah.
I got what I've always wanted, man. Like, I got my wife and my kid upstairs. Like, I can go up and see whatever I want and fucking,
living the dream, and it's brutal. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not exactly, there's definitely moments where it's
where
like, what are we gonna like? Where it's like, what meal are we gonna do today? Like,
oh yeah.
What?
See, that's every night.
Yeah. Well, I know, but after a while, you're like, all right, man, what's this kid gonna eat? Like not that we don't have food, more like, all right, this kid's not fucking eating, like, or he's eating a shit ton of stuff that we're like, oh, I didn't know you liked that. All of a sudden, like.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, we feed, it seems like we feed our son like the same 3 things basically all the time, because that's a sure thing that he's going to eat. And it's like either dumplings, some sort of pasta, or macaroni and cheese, or noodle, technically 4 things. And I'm feeling like, man, that's not a good enough diet. Like, I need to be like cooking vegetables and shit for this kid. And when we try it, he's like, man, he's not having it. So I'm like, fuck, dude. I mean, does your kid eat whatever you give him, or is this like every kid goes through this shit and I should just fucking deal with it?
So dude, our kid eats like a very well balanced meal. Like, so he's always getting a vegetable, he always gets a fruit, always like protein, like, but the thing is, like, he went through a huge chunk of time where he wouldn't eat chicken. like at all. And so now, like, he'll eat chicken, but it's hit or miss. Like, he loves like fish, like he loves all sorts of stuff. But the hard part about our kid is like he eats an adult portion of food.
You said that before.
Like, I'm not even fucking around. Like, I've shown, like, he's eaten in front of other people, and they're like, "Oh my god!" I'd heard stories about your kid eating a lot, but like, I mean, he's just like, he just shovels it in both hands. Like, he'll keep like one hand in his mouth to like move shit around so that he can like fit more in there. Like, dude, like we'll put cottage cheese in his plate, and he, like a whole handful. It looks like one of those like fresh mozzarella balls.
Yeah, yeah.
And he'll just cram the whole thing in his mouth. And then he's like, oh, dude, it's ridiculous. But you can't feed him the same thing twice. Like, you can't feed him the same thing twice in a row, or he wants nothing to do.
2 days in a row, or like lunch, dinner.
Like 2 days in a row, man. Like, you gotta put almost like a week between the same meal every time.
Good Lord, man. Your kid's eating like a fucking king.
Yeah, dude.
That's fantastic. Damn, dude. All right, I need to step my game up, dude. Like, Casper, I'm like, dude, here's some broccoli. He picks that shit up and just like, just like in the movie, like Problem Child, dude. I'm like, you little shit. But then it's like, he's like, oh, no, dumplings or any sort of meat, no problem. It's like he eats on his own. Like if we sit him down at the table, we're having family dinner, kid, the TV's going off, throws a fit. If he gets to sit at his own little table down next to us, he's totally chill. I'm like, all right, well, I guess you kind of do run the fucking place, but you know, it is what it is.
Nah, dude, we all eat together at the table, man. Like, one thing I'll say about like quarantine, like, dude, it's like, so we walk with him every day. He's got time outside that he plays every day. We all sit down at the table and eat dinner together. Ashley, she eats breakfast. I don't eat breakfast. She usually eats breakfast with him every morning. I usually like come up and try to help with lunch and like hang out. But dude, it's just, you know, like I literally like at my work life have to schedule like my phone calls and meetings during his stretch of nap time. And literally, like, if he only takes an hour-long nap, I'm like, oh, it's going to get real. But
dude, I'll put his ass back to sleep. Actually, my kid's good, man. He will crash for 2 hours at least, almost with no issues. Usually 2.5, but nap time used to be a pain in the ass.
Dude,
now it's not too bad.
Well, my kid will do 2 hours, 3 hours a lot of times, but then there's days where it's like 45 minutes and he's up, son. And then
and you're like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
And thank God for my wife, man. Like I was saying, my job's intense. Like, she's been fucking pulling the family through the fucking shit. And
get them,
Ash. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Hats off to my wife.
Yeah. And my wife, I like.
My wife.
Yeah. We've done way too much Borat lately. I'll try to stop doing that.
I can't help it. Hey, dude, it's quarantine, man. Doing Borat. It's quarantine.
It's quarantine. That's true. That's an excuse for everything. God, you guys really fucking sound a little weird. It's quarantine. Chalk it up to fucking quarantine.
So if you guys want to hear us stop talking like Borat, you can always mention that in your comments on our social media pages.
That's right. Let us know, man. Hit us up at Based on True Events Podcast on Facebook or Instagram.
Or on Twitter, we are... No, thanks. Or on Twitter, we are Podcast BOTE, BOTE.
That's right. We are on, when we have a YouTube channel going, you can hit us up or watch our videos, which will soon be posted. Listen to the episodes on that platform at, hit them up. What is it?
Based on True Events, BOTE.
Based on True Events, BOTE. That's right. What else we got? Well, shoot, if you're not on social media, you can do like Shep does, and you could always hit us up on the email, which is
Based on True Events Podcast at gmail.com.
Boom. We still got our Rope for Boat going on. send us your suggestions, and we pick a winner, and we'll send you a free shirt.
Winner wins a shirt.
That's right. It's as simple as that. We still will do our Waverly. I'm wondering, for the past, I guess 3 or 4 episodes, we're going, don't worry, we're still going to Waverly. At some point, we should just stop, like, calling ourselves out, and then they'll forget about it, and then we'll fucking actually go, hey, it's Waverly. What do you think?
Yeah.
We're pointing at time.
At some point.
At some point, yeah. I don't know, what else we got? Anything? I think we covered all the plugs, man.
I think those are our plugs. Those are our plugs for right now.
For now, so. That's right. Dude, well, fucking hey, let's get into it. Shit.
So we're doing a listener suggestion from a Tiffany Lee. Believe she sent you this suggestion. But
a while back, right?
Yeah, so this was a while back. And I actually mentioned wanting to do this episode during the Devil's Pass episode that just came out.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And it's not like the stories aren't connected whatsoever. I remember when I was pitching this idea to you, you're like, well, was she a hiker? And I'm like, no, motherfucker. Like,
dude, I got so confused because I was like, hold on. I literally asked the question in the episode. They're all Russian, right? Because I was thrown. So anyway, I got confused. All right.
Yeah, I was like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? So
I'm on track now.
So this episode is the Elisa Lam episode. So I'll give you like a brief synopsis of why this is an episode, and then I'll tell the story. So a lot of people know this episode. This story is there's a video that's on the internet, and it's of this girl in security camera footage, and she's like standing in an elevator, and it's real creepy. Like, it's the last known picture of this girl, and all you see is like her like standing like in an elevator, like looking out the door. And then, like, she looks like she's kind of hiding, and then, whatever. And then she eventually ends up turning up dead.
Right,
okay?
Right.
So there's a lot of, like, conjecture on the internet that, like, okay, so somebody was, like, chasing her, and she was, like, hiding from them. Some of the conjecture on the internet is about the building that she's in being haunted, and that's the reason that she was acting so hokey. So we're gonna discuss the curious case of Elisa Lam.
All right. So hold on. Let me. Now I'm, dude. Quarantine. I'm calling that's my quarantine card. It's all coming together now. I know 100% what we're talking about. Your whole description there, I was still fucking confused, literally until just now. So this was a suggestion by my super good friend, Tiffany. What up, Tiff? Thanks for the suggestion. Shep is doing this one. I didn't realize this was your suggestion he was doing. All of a sudden, now my fucking everything clicks. Everything is kosher. We can go forward. I'm on board. I know what the fuck's going on. Thanks, Tiff. Go for it, dude. Sorry, I was totally fucking lost. Yeah. All right, let's do this.
No problem. All right, so basically, originally when she sent this suggestion to us, you kind of like talked about this idea with me, and I wasn't really biting. Like I knew the story. Yeah, I didn't really care. Yeah, like I shut it down. And we're doing the episode now for a specific reason, and I'll make that reason very clear by the end of the episode.
Uh-oh. Okay.
So just story-wise, I'll go ahead and break it down, okay? So the body of Elisa Lam she was a Canadian student from the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. It was recovered in a water tank above the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles on February 19, 2013. She had been reported missing at the beginning of the month, and maintenance workers at the hotel discovered the body when investigating a guest complaint about problem with the water supply. Her disappearance had been widely reported, and interest increased the 5 days prior to the body's discovery when the Los Angeles Police Department released a video of the last time that she was known to have been seen on the day of her disappearance. And that's the security footage from the elevator. Okay. That video obviously went viral, and so dude, there's been a ton of people fucking report on this fucking this subject. There's been, case studies and all this shit. So I'm going to go through some of the details of the case, and then we're going to kind of discuss what we think happened.
So, hey, I still don't think I've actually seen the video, or if I have, I don't remember it. So was it how did it, I know it was of her in the elevator, and then did it just like kind of cut to, and then she was just gone? Or did she actually walk out of the elevator, and then of course there was no more camera?
So it shows her walk into the fucking elevator, and it shows her like pushing buttons and shit. Yeah. And then like it shows her like keep looking out, like kind of like glancing out of around the corner, like she's like
the doors are still open. Yeah, okay.
And then it shows her like get out of the elevator, and that's it.
Okay, right. And then I got it.
Then they found her. Then they found her body.
Okay, right. So it wasn't a whole she disappeared in the elevator, spooky disappearing. That's what I was trying to figure out. So
no, it's spooky. Like you watch the video, it's definitely a very creepy video.
Okay.
Like because she's obviously concerned about something. She's obviously worried about something in the hallway. We don't usually like to post like victim pictures, videos like that. But go on YouTube, type in Elisa Lam. You can watch the fucking video yourself. It's creepy. Like I mean, I think I hesitated on doing this story originally because it was creepy, but I can get to it later. It's creepy. The video is creepy. I agree.
Okay, so I just pulled it up. Yeah, I actually have seen this, and it's fucking scary, straight up. So at least okay. So this is what I was thinking about. It's creepy. Yeah.
It's creepy with zero context. It's more sad with context.
Well, okay, let's get into it, and it'll change. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay. So the circumstances of Lam's death, once she was found, also raised a lot of questions, especially in the light of the history of the Caesar Hotel, and also notable murders and other situations that went on in the Caesar Hotel or the Cecil Hotel. Her body was found naked. Most of her clothes and personal effects were floating in the water with her. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office took 4 months, and after repeated delays, finally released the autopsy report, which showed no evidence of physical trauma and states that the manner of death was accidental. Guests at the Cecil, now rebrand, like whatever, sued the hotel over the incident, and also so did her parents. Obviously, her parents are gonna fucking sue the fucking shit out of the hotel. So anyway, she was found in the water tank on the roof, right? And the argument is that she should have had. So that the Cecil says that the doors to the roof would have been locked. The water tank would have been padlocked, and even if she broke the padlock off, the doors are at the top of the water tank. They're extremely hard to open because they're heavy to kind of keep out anything. They're not freestanding. Like there's no access to the top tank unless you actually pull a ladder over to it. The Cecil also said that while the building does incorporate fire escapes, that there would have been no way that she could have accessed the roof from the actual fire escape. So they're saying that there's no reasonable way that she could have gotten to the roof. And if she did somehow find her way onto the roof, there should have been no physical way that she could have gotten up on top of the tank, opened the lid, and then fallen in. That's the discussion. That's why this is a mystery. That's why everybody fucking lose their shit over this.
Right. So the Cecil's saying there's no way she could have done it. Well, then how the fuck did she get there, dude? I mean.
Right. Okay. So now, the reason that they go the reason you go the paranormal route is because the Cecil actually has a fairly checkered history. So the Cecil is one of like an older Los Angeles area hotel, but there's been some notable murders there. One of them included Goldie Osgood, which I don't know if you know anything about her, but she's the pigeon lady. She was raped and murdered in her room at the Cecil, and the crime has still never been solved. Serial killers Jack Unterweger. I'm sorry?
I said lovely. They got a good track record.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So serial killers Jack Unterweger and Richard Ramirez both resided at the Cecil while being active serial killers. There have also been a slew of suicides inside the building, one of which actually killed a pedestrian out in front of the hotel when someone jumped from the building.
Oh God.
Yeah. So and then there's like a guy who was I'm not even gonna give his fucking name because I just don't like the way he went about this. There was a reporter that ended up staying in the Cecil after this whole story came out, and he said his quote about the Cecil is, "The Cecil will reveal to you whatever it is you're fugitive from." I'm like, fuck you, dude. You're just trying to sell your newspaper. Like, so.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah.
You can look that quote up and get that guy's name if you really like that quote and want to hear what he has to say about it. I personally don't give a fuck.
I'm good on that one, dude. Fuck him. He deserves no problem. Yeah.
So now here's where we're gonna get to the interesting bits of the story. Thing that is very underreported about this story is it's basically located in one of the poorer parts of Los Angeles. It's basically in the Skid Row area of Los Angeles. There's transients and fucking homeless people and fucking all manner of chaos right outside the building. Okay. Elisa Lam was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, and she was at the time or throughout the history of her mental illness, she was on 4 medications, and that is another very underreported aspect of this case. People have come out and said yes, she did suffer from mental illness, which can attribute to her demeanor and her behavior in the video. Elevator footage, basically.
Well, so
especially.
Sorry, and by the way, sorry, you guys. There's a little bit of a delay, I think, between us, so that's why we keep, kind of hesitating, cutting each other off. But no, I was gonna say in the video, she looks, paranoid is the best way to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, she is straight up hiding in the corner. She is clearly either delusional or hiding from someone, straight up. I mean, so I can get the argument highly medicated could possibly cause those types of actions.
Or under-medicated. Like, if you have this serious condition, and you're not taking your fucking meds, then, dude, you're going to act pretty fucked up. So, so her family did say that Lamb had no history of suicide attempts, and although there was one report that she had previously gone missing for a brief period of time previous to these events, In 2010, Lam began a blog named Ether Fields. And for the next 2 years, she posted pictures mostly of like models and fashion clothing, stuff like that. Some of it was accounts of her life, in particular, were her struggles with mental illness. She actually, in January of 2012, she stated that she had a relapse. They never really elaborated on what was the relapse there, but that relapse had actually forced her to drop several of her college courses.
I was going to ask if she had any sort of addiction or any sort of history of alcohol or drugs or whatever.
Okay, so in the autopsy, they did say that there was no like illicit medications or pharmaceutical things going on in her bloodstream. So she wasn't like drugged. She wasn't on roofies. She wasn't like XYZ, you know?
Right.
So anyway, she in her blog, after having to drop those several classes, she posted a quote that says, "So utterly directionless and lost." She titled the post, "You're always haunted by the idea that you're wasting your life." That quotation is from the novelist Chuck Palahniuk. And if you're not familiar with Chuck Palahniuk's work, he actually wrote Fight Club. He wrote a book called Choke. But most of his books are not very happy or uplifting novels. They're definitely about subverting reality to some degree and dealing with some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah, man, they're a trip, dude. Like Haunted, which I haven't finished, they're all trippy, man. They definitely, you got to kind of like a good flick, you know what I mean? Like I've talked about it before. It's hard for me to read books, but his stuff I get so like sucked into that I got to kind of go, okay, let me set it down for a little bit.
Yeah,
I love his shit, but it's tough. For me, it's tough to read.
Yeah, so I mean that's. I've read Chuck Palahniuk stuff. I like certain things. Obviously what we do here is pretty dark. I don't know that I can condemn her because she liked that quote and she used that as like her like epigraph for every one of her like blog posts and shit. Like that was kind of like her sign off.
It's a pretty dark one to choose. I mean, I'll say that, you know what I mean?
Well, it's not even the top 10 for some of the shit Palahniuk writes, though, to be honest.
Right.
That shit's fucking rose fields and daisies compared to most of the shit that Palahniuk writes. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
That's pretty PG-13 for his shit.
Right.
So, basically, when she did check into the Cecil Hotel back in January, because she was there for a little while. She was there, I think, almost 2 weeks or something like that before she disappeared on. She disappeared on February 1st, and I think it was February 19th is when they actually found the body. So she'd been in there for a little bit, marinating.
God,
yeah.
That's horrible.
So, so she was originally booked to stay in a room with another young lady whose name I think has been really kind of pulled out of most of the reports, who's obviously was cleared of all of any kind of like suspicion. But she actually stayed with Elisa for 2 days in the room and actually went and asked the desk clerk to switch her to a different room by herself because Elisa was acting very oddly and was basically very concerning behavior that the other young woman did not want to be around, so to speak.
How long did she stay in the hotel?
Let's see. I think she checked in
What?
It was in late January. It was like January 25th or January 28th, something like that. Yeah. So.
But yeah, it's fine. I was just curious. Like, was she staying there for a reason, or did it really get into all that?
I think she was kind of like, it looked like she was on like a vacation, or it could have been part of a school trip or something, but she just like she's just in she's just in Los Angeles. You know, she was into the fashion game, so maybe she was checking some stuff out. She wasn't there to see a boyfriend. That was never it wasn't anything like that that's ever come out. Right. I'm essentially assuming that was the angle that you were drilling towards.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting here trying to do detective work, like as you're telling the story. I'm trying to piece this shit together.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that the location of where she died, the circumstances that went into how her body was discovered, and this elevator video kind of make for the perfect storm of why this is an internet craze. Okay?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you why the story is sad.
Oh shit! So wait, hold on. Are you going to tell us has it been solved?
I mean, nobody came out and said that it was solved.
Okay, all right. So is this your theory, in other words? That's what I'm asking. I guess that's what I'm...
So according, we know that she drowned. We know that there was no trauma in the body. We know there's no drugs in the body. Okay?
Right.
All we have is a video of her acting funky. And then the coroner's report has accidental death. So they weren't willing to say suicide, and they weren't willing to say homicide. Okay? It's really, you only get three answers to that. You know, you get suicide, homicide, accidental. So the coroner's report, which again, I do want to say took 4 months, was really, they were really only willing to say that it was an mysterious circumstances around an accidental death. So,
in other words, we don't have any fucking clue.
Right. The official report has never been changed. So here is some of the things that they don't report. We've already kind of alluded to, but the Cecil Hotel had repeatedly been fined for neglect by the Safety Commission and the fire department or local fire chief or whoever does those inspections for not having secured locks on the roof or the fire escapes. The padlocks that were found on the water tanks had all apparently, I don't remember if it was Snoop's. I'm sorry, I should have written this down. One of those internet investigative websites was basically the padlocks that were on the water tanks showed no signs of weathering. They were
still locked.
That they were brand new.
Oh, possibly replaced.
Yeah. It was also noted, I believe, in two of their safety inspections that they had been leaving said ladder on the roof for easy access for the maintenance crew to get up and down. There's internet videos of people who've actually stayed at the Cecil Motel or hotel using the fire escape to access the roof with no problem whatsoever. And then the fact that the seals on the water tanks that everyone was like, oh, it's too heavy. This poor young girl could have never done that by herself. Really aren't anything more than just like, dude, a 21-year-old could have opened it. Yeah, it's not anything. So really, to me, this story is just a sad case of a poor girl with mental illness who just called it a day, man. Like, we have a witness who did not want to stay in the room with her because the roommate complained to the lawyer of the hotel that she was exhibiting odd behavior. We have her 2 years of a blog discussing mental illness.
Yeah.
4 medications to fight the mental illness that she was suffering from. And I'm by no means trying to water down mental illness at all.
Right.
Pay this situation the respect that it deserves. And the fact that, yes, it's a creepy fucking video, and with no context, it is creepy. Yeah. And the internet can get their fucking their fangs in it and run, which is what we see happen all the time. But
what they do,
right. Girl who should be on medication, who's not on medication, or not on enough
right.
of it,
right?
Running from her own demons.
Yeah.
And
wow.
The point that I was going to make about the fucking fire escape and the lid and all the things that were said to be the reason that this is unknown circumstances is the fucking hotel trying not to get sued by the family.
Right.
If they say, oh, there's no way you can access the roof from the fire escape, the doors are always locked, there's a seal on the fucking tanks, you can't get to the tanks because you need a fucking ladder. Even if you had a ladder, the fucking doors on the top of the tanks are too heavy and they're sealed with a padlock, blah, 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 blah. Like all these things, because if you show the negligence to not have your fire escapes locked down correctly, you're not securing your rooftop. You're not securing the water supply to the building. You're not protecting the whatever hundreds of people that come in and out of that building on a yearly basis. Then you're opening yourself up to huge lawsuits.
Yeah. Now, truthfully, most people aren't going to go climbing into the fucking water tank. You know what I mean? I wouldn't think. I personally have been to a shit ton of hotels, and I've never been like, even when I used to get shit-faced, I'd never be like, well, let's go up in the water tank, you know. So, but I get what your point, and it's totally valid. The hotel is clearly trying to cover their asses, so obviously.
By them casting this doubt on how this situation occurred, and the family's reluctance to speak openly and honestly about the mental illness that this girl suffered from, and one video without context has led to a 7-year viral situation that is really just a sad case of mental illness gone unchecked, and what's either a sad suicide or at the very best a fucking horrible accident.
A horrible accident. Yeah. It looks like in the video, yeah, you're right, man. It definitely is a spooky video standalone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm glad I just rewatched it, especially just because I had seen that before, and it was like, oh, but I never thought like spooky, like ghost. I always went to, oh, she's about to be abducted, or it didn't, you know, she's not fucking playing hide and go seek. She's not smiling. You know what I'm saying? But maybe she was playing hide and go seek with, like you said, the demons in her head. You know what I mean? Like she literally could have lost her shit, and so she was literally completely out of it, didn't know what she was doing, or she was chasing imaginary things, and that's what led her to the top, where she figured, I'm going to hide in this tank because it looks like the safest place, and then obviously we know how it ended. So you're right, either way, and that's probably the happy accident.
Yeah.
Hopeful. You know what I mean? Like the thought of, you know, I would hope that if someone was going to commit suicide, that they wouldn't do it that way. But then again, I don't want anybody to commit suicide. But you know what I mean? Like that just seems really fucking awful.
And you know that the maintenance man who came behind her, who probably found the fucking ladder and the fucking top of the tank open, and was like, oh man, fucking the idiot Bill fucking didn't take the ladder down. I'm gonna go up, climb. Oh shit, he didn't put the fucking lock on. Closes the tank, doesn't think twice about it, fucking locks the tank up, fucking pulls the ladder down, doesn't think another thing of it, and now it's a month later, and they're like, there's a dead girl in there. You're like, oh shit, no man, there was nothing up there, man. Dude, to me, it's everybody covering their ass to not get sued.
Yeah, it sounds exactly like you nailed it. Solved another one. I agree. I hope that it's not suicide, but either way, it starts.
Well, but the other thing is, like, so this is the reason that I tell this story after I tell the Devil's Past story. Okay. If you remember, the setup on the Devil's Past story, like, I'd heard that story for years and years. And it was always this unexplainable thing. And then all of a sudden, out of a random area, somebody releases a piece of evidence that nobody else had really ever talked about before.
Right.
And this is kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, well, nobody talked about, like, when anybody presents this story, they don't talk about the fact that this place had been fined repeatedly for breaking safety violations, that they were notoriously bad about keeping their building secure, and things along those lines. These are things that people neglect because it doesn't tell the story in a way that they want that story told. They're pushing the narrative of the fucking elevator, and a girl being chased or abducted, or, you know, whether it's one of those other channels where it's like the demons of the Cecil Motel, Richard Ramirez stayed here, multiple suicides, you know.
I'm sure that there's a theory tying him into this young lady somehow. Dude, but I tell you, you know, that's one of the things that I love about the internet, but I also hate. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy how they can take this story, can just basically just turn into something completely opposite of what it began as, or what it truly is, just by simple, you know, word of mouth and the telephone game that we mentioned so many times. Like, I love that of it, but when it's dealing with something like this, you know, I have to go, okay, is it better to know the truth? I mean, for the girl's sake, I feel, and for the parents' sake, I feel like, yes, it is. But for the rest of the world, maybe, you know, a spooky, fun, scary story is better. So, you know, I get torn, and I get sucked up in the whole hoopla of the spooky stories like everybody else does, probably to a fault, admittedly. You know what I mean? So, but, you know.
Well, you know me, like, I'm the piece of yarn sticking out of the sweater. I got to keep pulling. Like, okay, well, what about this? 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 And I legitimately, the reason that I didn't want to tell this story originally is because I've never had a different opinion of this story than what I do right now. I just feel like the reason that I'm telling the story now is because with the Devil's Past story that we just told, it kind of fits together. It's like, okay, we're going to present this story with tunnel vision, and we're going to disregard all this other important information around the sides. Whereas you know, this story is another one just like that. We're going to tell the narrative that will, you know, do this and do that, like sell my article, sell my blog, sell my, you know, and the fucking Cecil, man, like, you know, that there for a while, man, they were getting some fucking people coming in the fucking doors. Now, you know, trying to fucking stay in the creepy fucking hotel.
Oh yeah, dude, the ghost hunters, they're going and staying the night in room whatever, and yeah, oh yeah, for sure, dude. There's a bunch of there's so many stories out there that are like this. I mean, I can't even imagine how many are actually out there where the story is just known from the internet spreading its things. Where truthfully, at the root of it, it's something very explainable and unfortunately probably very depressing and sad. In fact, when Tiffany, by the way, this is still a dope suggestion, even though I'm fairly depressed now. But Tiffany, the depression is not your fault. That's on fucking Shep. But no, as soon as I read this suggestion to you, you were like, "Oh yeah, cool. You mean the death of the poor depressed fucking girl or whatever?" You said something really cynical, and I was like, "What?" So now I know what you were, you know, referencing, which is funny.
Yeah, like I mean, you know what? I could be completely wrong. It could be a spooky demon.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Goblins and fairies in Bigfoot carried her up there on a fucking bed of roses, threw her in the water tank, tossed her clothes in. She has no defensive physical wounds of any sort whatsoever, by the way, for the record.
She could have technically been, you know, held at gunpoint and told to walk up there and get in the thing. There would be no physical bodily harm. So it could have technically been some sort of forced homicide, but just, you know, at gunpoint, in other words. Something like that could have happened.
Very, very likely.
Not the Yeti and the ghost and all that shit. I'm talking about a realistic, that could possibly have been another option. That's the only other thing that I could think of because of the elevator scene. She was scared, so that's the only thing that I could, you know.
Okay, I misspoke. I said very likely. Let me marginalize that response a little bit. It is likely. However, I feel like with the existing evidence that's at hand, the more likely answer is mental illness and paranoid delusions, which led to a death of a 21-year-old girl that has now been turned into one of a million fucking things on the internet. So,
yeah, well, I mean, dude, even if somebody was holding her at gunpoint, it's still a horribly sad ending to her life, you know, because to die in fear is no better than, you know, an accident or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's no happy tale. Like, honestly, a spooky ghost would be the happiest thing that you could possibly, you know, something paranormal, which is fucked up that we're saying that, but truthfully, compared to the reality, you know,
compared to
sad.
Serial killer or suicide, maybe getting scared into a water tank by a spooky monster isn't the worst thing in the world.
Is not the worst thing. That's right. Oh, please give me Ghost. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure she was abducted by aliens, and then she was put in the tank.
Oh shit!
Like no, I mean, I feel like, okay, so I'm going to jump backwards a little bit, and I won't go on this tangent very long, but like the story that you told of Slender Man, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a story that I'd only had like clips of, like in my head, I had no idea that it was a complete fabrication that existed only as kind of a spooky story, and that the world had kind of run with that. And then people took that and ran with it in another way that ended up almost killing a young girl.
Right.
So when you say it's nice to have that spooky story sometimes. This is why I am who I am. Like I want, like, dude, the minute that we find one that's a spooky fucking poltergeist and there's no fucking other explanation, like, I okay, I agree. I like, I have told you on multiple occasions, I'm not saying I don't believe in those things.
Right.
But when there's one possible answer that fits all the criteria and answers the question, why am I going to go with the other one down here that is far less likely and has literally zero evidence to back it up?
No, I can't argue with that. Yeah, and you're right. And you've said multiple times, because I used to kind of jab at you about not being a believer or being a cynic. Well, I mean, cynic is fine, but you're not against the theory or the idea of something existing. You just want to have proof. So I'm another reason why I'm really fucking stoked to go to Waverly. I'm gonna fucking find you a ghost, bitch. And then you're gonna go, he was right all along.
And you know what? We've talked about this on previous episodes. Like, we haven't actually done an episode on it, but like, I've had paranormal experience of my own. Actually, I've had a couple. I've seen a blue person.
Yeah, right. Strange shit exists. Yeah, that's right.
There are certain things that may fall into the category conspiracy or paranormal or, you know, this or that. And I completely 100% believe in those things.
Right.
I don't necessarily believe in all of the ways that it is presented.
Yeah, that's fair.
And by the way, you gave me a ton of shit about the way I presented the Bigfoot episode. When you were far more critical of the Bigfoot than I was, actually. Like,
did I give you shit for that? I expected you to go that route.
No, you gave me personal shit about it. Like, you didn't really give me shit on the episode, but you were like far more dismissive of the entire subject than I was.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so like I find it funny that, you know, like I like to have the discussion based out of a rational conversation and trying to use logic to get to an answer. And
right.
Like, you are like full throttle, I believe, or full throttle, fuck this, it's wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, because with that one, I don't feel like there's too many middle possibilities. I don't know. That's a rare episode for me to be full on. Look, I my brain can't go, because you had the most your theory or your statement of saying, look, they would have found one, like somebody would have killed one, completely just shut every other option in my brain off. I was like, no, yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to go that hard right, or whatever you want to call it, because I was like, yeah, you're right, dude. There's too many people with guns that know how to shoot. One Bigfoot somewhere would have been killed. So that's why I was like immediately like, rah, which I didn't expect my reaction to be that way, but you know, that's like I said, you're turning me into a fucking cynic, dude. Or a skeptic.
That's actually the purpose of the podcast, is slowly turning you into a hateful cynic.
Just grinding away.
One twist at a time.
Oh shit, that was fun. Well, look, so I don't want to make light of the story that you just told, because I thought that was a great topic, because I didn't know that side of the story. In fact, I didn't know much of any of the story. But the only thing I do believe that I remembered after seeing that video was that there was something paranormal. And clearly, so I like hearing a story where it has some sort of, at least in my mind, an ending. I don't feel like it's not a solved case, but I feel like there's enough explanation to go, it's one of these two things. And so I thought it was a cool episode. So I didn't want to make light of it by joking around about it, because that's a sad ass story, dude. And so we're joking about aliens and shit, but that shit sucks. And there's probably a ton of other stories just like them, or just like it.
Yeah, man. I think that one of the other reasons I really wanted to do this episode is I kind of did paint the parents, I guess, in a bad light about not bringing their daughter's mental illness into the conversation. But I mean, dude, like me thinking about my kid, like I wouldn't want that shit spread all over the fucking world. And they lost their 21-year-old daughter who had battled for years with mental illness, And so that's why I wanted to tell this story, man. Get this chick off the fucking internet as this weird, spooky fucking story. Stop playing it like, there's a fucking demon in the Cecil. Stop playing it like, there's a serial killer. I mean, fuck, there's a serial killer everywhere, but like, dude, like, give this poor girl peace. Give her family
some closure. Yeah, dude, I'm with you on this one. I am 100%.
I wasn't trying to tell a sad story. I was trying to tell a story of, okay, here's this, and here's all the reality of the things that these clickbaiters don't want you to fucking read about, because then you'll stop clicking on their link.
Yeah, no, right. No, dude, I like that you did that. Well done. I never know which route you're gonna go, but you usually pick either the one that I'm not aware of, you know what I'm saying, or you usually pick the right way to go. When you bash it, like you bashed a few of your topics and a few of the people, like Holmes, you just tore to shit, which is fucking hilarious to me. Like the certain times where you give a story and you go the opposite route, it's usually deserved or thought out at least. Kudos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I literally, I'm not going for one direction or the other ever. Like, I tell the story the way that it makes sense to me in my brain, looking at all the pieces of evidence that are available.
Yeah.
And if I'm ever wrong, like, I'll say I'm wrong. Like, yep, you got me. Like, I didn't know that, or I didn't research that, or whatever it is. But I try not to go into, except Bigfoot. I generally tend to try to not let my preconceived ideas of a story twist the way that I tell it. Unless there's really no way to get around it. If there's no way to get around it, then there's just going to be certain things I'm not going to believe, unless I'm presented with some fairly strong evidence. So
right, yeah, Bigfoot's one of them. Kentucky goblins. There's a handful of them out there, but but we sure have a fucking good time talking about them. Whether we end up, believers or not, that shit's fun as hell to talk about. I mean, that's what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
That's why we're here. That's why we're here. So,
well, shit, man. All right.
I got no fucking clue what I'm doing next week.
Yeah, well, I actually have 4 on my list still.
Well, I got 4 suggestions that I'm mulling over right now.
All right, well, we'll figure it out. I think we've kind of gotten off the whole, for a while there, we would always go, okay, next week we're doing this, because we had the list that we were sticking to. Now we're just, all bets are off, and we're like, oh, I literally, my next episode is one that I picked based solely on a picture you sent me. Completely 180 switched fucking gears of what I've been researching all week. So
okay.
we don't even have to have a conversation of next week on. Next week we'll do something. There'll be a topic that we will each fucking deliver. And be surprised.
Next week there's going to be a topic.
That's right. And we're going to continue with this quarantine, the way that we're recording and videoing. And so hopefully you guys stick around, even though the audio is not as awesome as as we had there for a while, but I feel like we've got it to where it's listenable, and we've got some videos that we're recording that hopefully could be posted up on YouTube it's really soon. I'm going to work on that tomorrow, actually. So bear with us on that, but I'm kind of having fun with it, dude, and I'm looking forward to get this shit past us so we can get back down to the basement like norm. So
yeah, I mean, look, here's the deal. Like, I'm willing to continue to do the quarantine podcast basement episodes like this as long as it keeps my family and my friends healthy and fucking safe. So
right.
I will do it with a marginal smile on my face, and if you guys are willing for the ride, we're gonna keep pushing forward. That's
what's up. I think we just hit like, shit, dude. I don't know. We're like creeping up on 6,000 with quickness. I feel like.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you guys are still listening. So I'm fucking crazy appreciative. And it's unbelievable. So we're gonna keep doing this shit.
And thank you to Tiffany for the great suggestion.
Yeah, Tiff, you're the shit. Miss you. Thanks for the suggestion. That was awesome. I can't believe it took me a second to realize what the fuck we were doing. All of a sudden it clicked. I was like, oh, bells like went off. I was like, here we go. So good suggestion, Tiff. And Shep, way to go, man. Good delivery. I enjoyed that one.
All right.
Sad and all. So, all right, man. Good shit. Peace, dude.